ጤና ይስጥልኝ ተመልካቾቻችን፣ ይህ በዳያስፖራ ቲቪ የተዘጋጀ የሚቀርብላችሁ የጌራ-show ነው። ጤና ይስጥልኝ የተከበራችሁ ተመልካቾቻችን፣ ይህ በዳያስፖራ ቴሌቪዥን እየተዘጋጀ የሚቀርብላችሁ የጌራ-show ነው። ዛሬ የጌራ-show ላይ ይዤላችሁ የቀረብኩት እንግዳዬ የቀድሞው የኢትዮጵያ ንጉሠ ነገሥት የቀዳማዊ ኃይለ ሥላሴ የልጅ ልጅ ልጅ የሆነውን ፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል ዳዊት መኮንን ነው። ከፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል ዳዊት መኮንን ጋር በሚኖረን ቆይታ ሁላችሁም በጣም ጥሩ ጊዜ እንደምታሳልፉ የተማመንኩኝ፣ አሁንም እንደተለመደው በእናንተ በተከበራችሁ ተመልካቾች ስምና እንዲሁም በዳያስፖራ ቴሌቪዥን ስም ፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል ጥሬና አክብሮ እዚህ ስቱዲያችን ድረስ ስለተገኘ ከልብ እያመሰገንኩ በድጋሚ እንኳን ደህና መጣህ እላለሁ። ኢዩኤል
እንኳን ደህና ቆየህ።
ኦልራይት ፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል፣ እንግዲህ አማርኛ ትናገራለህ?
አዎ እችላለሁ።
ትንሽ በዚህ አጋጣሚ ተመልካቾቻችን እንግሊዘኛ ቢቀላቅልም ፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል ተወልዶ ያደገው ከኢትዮጵያ ውጪ ስለሆነ ሁላችሁም ይቅርታ እንደምታደርጉለት ሞክራለሁ። ግን ለማንኛውም በአማርኛ እንጀምርና በሚመችህ ትቀጥላለህ፣ መቀላቀልም ትችላለህ። እኔ እረዳሃለሁ።
ችግር የለም።
እስኪ በመጀመሪያ እንኳን ደስ አለህ። still you are fresh on your marriage.
Yes, thank you.
ዛሬ በፕሮግራማችን መሰረት ፕሪንሰስ አሪያና አብራ መገኘት ነበረባት፣
ግን ዛሬ ትንሽ ደክሟታል። ከጀማይካ ተመለሰን ትላንትና። so እኔ I was still energized, ግን እሷ ትንሽ ማረፍ ያስፈልጋታል። ደከማት።
ምንም ችግር የለም፣ ሌላ ጊዜ አብራችሁ ትቀርባላችሁ ማለት ነው።
ችግር የለም።
እስኪ Prince Iዩኤል, tell me about yourself a little bit. ከዛው አያይዘህ ደግሞ about your parents ትነግረኛለህ?
Okay, sure. So thank you very much for having me on your show tonight. I'm very happy to be here. I was born in Rome, Italy, 1982. At the time, my family was in exile. The revolution had happened a few years before that, and so they were out of the country. And I grew up most of my life in Europe, in Geneva, Switzerland, in France, and Italy. I was born, and then in the United States. And at the time, my parents were essentially not able to return because the revolution had happened. The Derg took over the country, and you know that my parents, their wedding was actually the last wedding in the Jubilee Palace.
Oh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Just a few months later, the revolution happened. So it happened that my father was already had an advanced plan to do a military training in the United States in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So it was already programmed. And Sergu Sicharas, they had planned to go to do this training, and this was in April. They got married. In September, the revolution happened. So they were stuck outside the country. Yes, 1974, that year, that same year. So it was the last final state affair. And when I was born, my father and my mother were traveling in different places in Europe, just trying to stay, alive. First of all, my father, being a military man, he had been in absentia sentenced to death. And the reason why, as a military man, not only was he a prince of the royal family, and he had to, the government called him to come back, and he was also a military serviceman. So his not coming back was considered a desertion. And so my father decided, he made a statement, and he said, I am not coming back. I reject this coup, and I reject this government. So in absentia, they sentenced him to death. So he was not able to return to the country. And on top of that, the Derg had some operatives that were sent out in Europe, in Rome, and I was too little at the time to know, but my mother told me later in life that many attempts were made on his life because he was a very vocal supporter of reinstituting the monarchy, and he reached out to allies in the West. You know, the British Crown was very close with the imperial family, with France. He did interviews. He was a very vocal advocate for Ethiopia to restore peace and to have the family released from prison and all of the massacres that had taken place. So they wanted to silence him. So they were sent to assassinate him. And that's the reason why we moved around in Europe. But at the time, I didn't know. I just thought we were just moving from one place to the other. And so yeah, it's not until 1994 that I set foot in my homeland in Ethiopia.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. I felt just in harmony with the ground. Like the minute my foot touched down, I felt I was home. So this longing, I missed Ethiopia even without having knowing the country. But when I came there, I finally saw my people, my family that I had not seen. My grandmother had been in jail for 15 years. And it was a homecoming, and many times I would visit again. And later, when I was about maybe 16 years old, I moved back actually to Ethiopia. My mom moved back.
So when were you there first time?
First time was 1993 to 94, that New Year, Christmas time.
I see.
And then my mother was with the United Nations.
Okay,
She got a post and she moved back to Addis because she had been wanting to go back to Ethiopia after all these years. And
so that was okay for her to go back to
yes,
Addis?
at this point it was 1999.
Okay, 1999.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
things was settled a little bit.
Yes, it was. Things had been safe and things came back to normal, and my family had got their properties back, their homes, and it was just a good time. My mom thought to come back and actually live there, and spend 2 years there.
Okay, so we go back to there, and I still want to take you back to your dad.
Sure.
So your dad was in the military after the revolution or before the revolution?
Before the revolution. You know, he was a dedicated military man, just like his father was, Lul Mikonnen.
Yes.
And so he took the same path. He graduated all the way to the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst, and the emperor was very happy with him. And unfortunately, his father had passed away already at that time, Lul Mikonnen, who was very dear to the emperor. And seeing the resemblance of his cherished son Mikonnen in my father, Dawit, he would start to call him Mikonnen, actually. And
I was going to ask you about that. You know, his name is David, and then he became Mikonnen.
Yes.
So he got that from the king.
He got that from the king himself, yes. And so he carried it with him. He was a very dutiful person. My father, as I know him, was very disciplined. And he really loved his country and wanted to contribute with his life, which he did in the end. And when the revolution broke out, these were his fellow comrades, military men who became communist, and he was really disappointed in that when he was out of the country to see that, even people like Mengistu and all of them, they had come to kind of know each other in the army. And so when he was out of the country, he refused to come back. He was summoned back. As a military man, not only he had to come back because he was a royal prince of the royal family, he had to come back to serve in the military. So when he defected on that call, they considered it a desertion. So
was he the only one in the military at the time?
We have other members, but at that time, older ones and cousins who were pilots. And but from his direct family, he was the most.
Let me ask you about your mom.
My mom? Okay, yes, sure.
So tell us about her a little bit and her name and where is she right now.
My mom is Princess Aide Imru Mikonnen.
Aide Imru.
Yes.
Princess Aide.
Yes. From her father is Ambassador Imru Zallaka.
Yes.
Who was a minister under the imperial rule, was an imperial minister under His Majesty. And so she was brought up in the nobility. And
I know about him, by the way. He's very active on so many issues related to Ethiopia.
He's a great
on your mom's side.
Yes, he is a great supporter and patriot. And he has spent his life in service during the government. Yes. And after that, outside of the country, when he escaped, he has a story of an escape that itself could take 2 hours talking about, but he escaped while he was still a minister. But he came to America and has continued to be very active politically and rights, and he's a source of pride of all of us. He's a a great patriarch of our family.
So you're very close to one of your
Yes,
grandpa?
on my mom's side, yes,
Your
because my
mom's
mom
side.
raised me, essentially, me and
That's
my
right.
brother,
That's
my
right.
older brother, Prince Yokshan. We both were raised by our mother after, my father passed away in 1989. So she raised us, and my mom is a very strong woman, very kind and caring for her family, and she made sure that me and my brother had everything we needed, but that we always kept a connection with our country, and but were given opportunities to continue life outside of the country, as sad as it was, but to pick up and to continue. So I take a lot from my mother. She raised me since a little boy, and I love her very much because she is someone who is selfless. From the minute she knew the situation, she took care of my father. My father was very active, like I told you. He reached out to his friends, even in Saudi Arabia. He would travel. He would meet with dignitaries or high officials to get help to reinstitute peace in Ethiopia. And during that time, she took care of the household. So my mother is a very,
great role model.
Yes, great role model. Yes.
I know you told us a lot about. I mean, it's a good thing to hear about her,
Yes.
and hopefully one day we will invite her to the
Yes,
show, and then
sure.
she'll talk about you and
Okay,
your brother, maybe.
yeah, I hope so.
So, Iyoel, where did you go to school? I know your elementary life probably was in Europe. And tell us about it a little bit. When did you move to the United States, and what did you study then?
Sure. So I spent the better part of my childhood and even into my adolescent years in between Geneva, Switzerland, and France in the border area that's just across from the border of Switzerland in the French Alps. We went to boarding school. So
You and
we
your
got
brother?
yes, me and my brother. So we got a dose of that kind of disciplined, organized upbringing in the Alps, and it was very cold. And but we loved it. In the moment, you always hate it, but later you come to appreciate that it really teaches you a lot. And once I finished the baccalaureate, which is the French, degree after high school, I actually returned to Ethiopia. So that's when I went for 2 years in Ethiopia, and I went to the American school there, ICS, where I made a lot of friends that I still have until now.
So you stayed for a couple of years?
Yeah, I
there?
stayed a couple of years in
Is
Ethiopia.
that a high school life or?
Yeah, high school. So 1999 to 2001.
Okay.
And my mom, when I came back, my brother went to college, so he didn't get to come. But I stayed 2 years with my mom there, and she made sure that she got me a tutor who taught me Amharic lesson every Saturday morning. Writing, Fidel,
Fidel, okay.
Matzaf, Hahuhi, everything. And so I learned like that. And when I finished high school in Ethiopia, I applied to go to a college in France, actually. So I returned for 2 years. It was a program which you do 2 years in France and 2 years in the States.
Okay.
After I finished that, I came to Washington in 2004 at American University. And there I graduated with a bachelor's in international business.
Okay.
And then I worked for a few years here in Washington, but I've been here since that time. And then I decided to go to law school because that's something that I always wanted since I was a child. I would always say, I want to be a lawyer. And my mom would be like, yes, you're always debating and arguing and defending your ideas, so I think you'd be a great lawyer. And I went with my instinct, and I got a degree from Howard University here in Washington.
Okay.
So I'm Washington through and through now. I'm a real,
So now you became Washingtonian.
Yes.
How many
And,
languages do you speak when you say
I speak five.
Really?
I speak English, Amharic, French, Italian, and Spanish a little bit.
Wow, that's wonderful. So now let me take you back again to your dad, and tell us about him. When did he pass away, and what happened?
So, as I was saying, my father, he was doing a military training after the wedding, so they happened to be outside the country.
I see.
And he followed his military training, but when the government declared him, he made a statement saying, I'm not returning, they essentially withdrew him from the armed services. So even in America, his training had to stop. He had to give that up. And what he did until his last years alive, he advocated and spoke out and did interviews and reached out to everyone in the West who were allies of his grandfather, of the Ethiopian crown, and argued with them for them to, re-establish the monarchy, re-establish security and peace in Ethiopia after the coup, and even use military support if needed. I mean, he was at the point where he, a few years in, when I was born, that's another thing I wanted to point out, is that there was still a strong sense that the monarchy would return. So when I was born Prince Yoel, to assume royal duties in the near future. So I always brought up with this sense that we will never give up. This is our country. This is a 3,000-year-old lineage. We will not give it up. And it's for the good of the people, really, because it was torn apart, the country. And so my father did interviews on BBC, on TF1 in France, the French channel. And till his very last day, I told you he was being hunted down by Derg operatives who had come undercover in Europe and attempted on his life because he was so vocal and it was making such a big statements about what was happening in Ethiopia. The whole world had known about that time. And at that time, when he left his military training in America, he came to Geneva where Al-Gwarash, the crown prince, was there because he was having medical treatment in Europe, and he as well made a statement that he rejected the Derg regime, and so they banded together, and other members of the family who were, by thank God they were not in the country, they were lucky enough to survive. And so my father passed away in 1989, which it was very sad 89. When I think back, because all of his work came to fruition finally. I mean, him and other voices that were very strong. And the US finally, after years, it's the US who picked up the cause and said, you know what, we will take on this cause to shut down and destroy a communist regime in Africa who was supported by, the enemies of America at the time, like Cuba and USSR. So the Americans finally saw, okay, our interests are aligned to get rid of this communist.
The support was there.
The support was there, But unfortunately, my father died. He, this fight for freedom, for his family, for his country, it consumed him to the end. I mean, he was sleeping, he was tireless in his effort, but it took a toll on him. And it really consumed him up until in 1989, in August, actually tomorrow, 27th, is the anniversary of his death. He was... he died the same day as Emperor Haile Selassie, actually.
Really?
Yes, as a coincidence.
Wow, what a coincidence.
The same day, and so when he passed away...
How old was he? Okay.
He was 37.
Very young.
He was very young. I'm 36 now. So it was very sad because in 1989, finally, as everybody knows, with the assistance of the US, the Revolutionary Party liberated the country, and his family was actually released in 1989. My grandmother from prison.
I see.
And unfortunately, he wasn't there to witness it. And the very first trip that my grandmother, Grandma Sarah, Princess Sarah, made, and his brothers, my uncles Michael, Wasan Sagad, my oldest uncle, they came for his funeral when they were released out of jail, but in their heart everyone knew how much he fought for this to happen.
I wish you saw that, right?
I wish he had been able to see that.
Well, let me bring you back now to your personal life.
Okay, sure.
So you just got married a year ago.
I did.
Okay, and to Ariana.
Yes.
She's Princess Ariana.
Yes.
Well, how did you guys meet?
So we met in the most common but unlikely place in a way. We met in a common place out in a club in Washington, which at the time was kind of the in place to go. And I remember the moment I saw her, it was just like electric. Like
there's a spark there,
a spark right away. I saw her from across the room, and she saw me, and I just walked up to her, and we started talking, and we had just a really great chemistry right from the beginning. And as I said in the New York Times article, if you've seen it, within 5 minutes, coverage. We did. And within 5 minutes, I just told her, you'll be my girlfriend, because I just knew inside me I met someone really special. So since that day,
like royal families, there was no kind of setup between the families and everything. It's good to find yourself,
Yeah,
the
Yes,
person
it
that
is.
you really like, right?
Yeah, it is because, of course, being from the royal family and an Ethiopian custom,
Yeah.
arranged marriages are always
Exactly,
there ready for you.
exactly.
And I had
Yeah,
some
yeah,
arranged
Yeah.
or some hypothetical.
So you're lucky to.
Yeah, but I
do
was
on
lucky
your own.
enough to just find the woman I truly fell in love, and she's really a special person who has really understood me, understood my family, and in the end, when we got to spend time together and spend with the family, we realized that as far apart as we seemed, and she is from America and her mother is from Guyana, so she has a mixed background, and me from all the way in Ethiopia, we actually shared a lot in the same culture, and in our culture, meaning the same family values, the same respect values, respect for elders, and so we came
wonderful.
very organically together, and she really, out of people I have met and dated, she was the one who really understood it, what it meant to be the great grandson of
That's
Emperor
a
Haile
good thing,
Selassie.
of course. Yeah, that's
really-
between the two of you. But what it looks like, or what would the reaction looks like between the parents, between your parents and her parents,
Right.
and the family, how they connect with each other.
Well, like I was saying, I think it was very natural. That's what was so amazing, is that when they first met, obviously, it's a complete new people that you meet, and her new people that she met on my side, and she had all of the weight of the imperial royal family to get to know and impress, but we came very naturally. Like I said, her family has the same values, they respect. They also have a aristocratic background. Her grandfather was the Lord Mayor of Guyana, appointed by the Queen. So she had the same culture and the atmosphere in the family. It came very naturally, and of course, I'm sure nobody on either side would have guessed, oh, you will marry an Ethiopian prince and you will marry a young American girl, but it worked really well.
Do you cook?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, sometimes.
I wish if Ariana was here today, I was asking her
I know.
if it was true or not.
Yeah,
but unfortunately,
she cooks. She is very good too.
You guys just came back last night, right, from Jamaica?
We just
What
came
was it
back.
look like in Jamaica trip?
It was like paradise. I mean, if I had to describe a magical and paradise, heaven-like place, it would be Jamaica. And not only that, of course, of the Ethiopian and Jamaican connection and the love they bear for my great-grandfather and Ethiopia in general. Just the people were wonderful. The weather was beautiful. It had been a year. We had a very busy year with my wife, Ariana, and this was our time to take our honeymoon. Believe it or not, it was...
What took you so long?
Well, life gets in the way and you get busy, and after all of the press and the media we were reached out to, and we started to think about the opportunities we want to take and initiatives we want to take, and some of them are, we even talked about in the press, but like doing a biopic of Emperor Haile Selassie, a film, like it has to be done really well, very good one, and because of all the press we garnered, there's a lot of interest now. So we had to follow up on all these things with different big names, BBC, Netflix, and all that. So all of that got in the way, and of course our jobs. We work, both of us. And so finally August came the time where we're like, okay, let's take some time and take a vacation. And it was beautiful. It was a honeymoon, just like made in heaven.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I really loved it, yes.
I want to take you back to Ethiopia now. I know your family have a property there called Wabi Shebele Hotel, and I don't know if there is some other more. And have you got a chance to see it when you go there, and what it looks like now? Who's managing it?
So fortunately, the Ethiopian government in 2011, they through the privatization agency, we had our request granted to get the Wabi Shebele back, which was built by His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie in 1969, and was built for the sons of Lul Mkonnen.
I see.
So that's my father and his 4 brothers. It was returned to us through my uncle Prince Berde Mariam. He lives in Ethiopia now and has taken back charge, and we own it as a family now. So we all have shares, and it's also our responsibility now to go back every year or 2 years to do a board meeting. We are all board members.
Okay.
And we discuss the future of the Wabi Chevele and what we have inherited and how to keep
It's
it
a huge
going.
property.
It's a huge property with a very rich historic background.
Yes.
At the time, it was, you know, one of the most fashionable hotels and nightclub of the days. It was said that you could go there and see some celebrities or some artists.
Right, right.
It was the place to be seen, you know, and the princes were always out there. So, now we know what we have inherited with this name and this history, and what we want to do is continue it. So we all chip in and contribute and serve as board members.
Okay. So now we're talking about Ethiopia then. I know you were born and raised while your families are in exile, but you had a chance to go back and see it.
Yes.
And when you were a little boy also, I mean, you heard basically something about Ethiopia.
Yes.
And then you've seen it yourself and you see today where we are.
Yes.
What's your thought on that?
So I think this is a very, very exciting time. It's a very critical time, and it's a very hopeful time. And I actually just wrote an article about that. I just felt compelled to share not only my thoughts, but what I'm hearing in the Ethiopian community, and especially here in the diaspora. There was this yearning for this moment to happen, and it's like I said, it's almost like God sent us someone to unify the country. And really, Prime Minister Dr. Abiy, I commend him so much on what he has done, on his appointment. I congratulate him, and I really am very excited, as are a lot of people, to see what can come out of this. This is a time where the youth are really engaged, and as much as we have to give credit to Dr. Abiy and his administration, the real driver has been also all the youth who have protested relentlessly and passionately until this moment was able to happen. So we can't forget that they started and made this moment possible, because without them, probably a new prime minister would have not been thought to be selected. It would have been like status quo, let's continue what's going on now. But with this coming of Dr. Abiy, who has this mixed background, who understands deeply the country's history and the different people and the different religions, and he embodies it all in him. He is like a manifestation of a unifying figure, and who is intent, as much as he is in speech, he has been in deed as well, to actually commit to democratic change. And I say democratic change because I think he sees that this is a bigger moment than himself, that there's an opportunity now to establish an institutional substantive reform that can outlive all of us, me, you, Dr. Abiy, and that can be a gift for the next generation of Ethiopians. Ethiopia is an exceptional country. It has always been exceptional from the beginning of times, with the oldest monarchy sources since biblical times. For the first country to adopt Christianity as a state, or one of the first at least. From fighting any invader, be it neighboring countries or European imperialists, we have always stood up for them, for our country, and been exceptional. And it's in my heart, deep down, that Ethiopia will rise again, and always will, because she is a phenomenal country. She is passionate, she is historic, and she is always a leader in our region and for the world. And so right now, I think it's a time to be excited. When I read in his first 100 days all of the great things that he has done, released all the unjustly prisoners, have you heard? Even removing people who were responsible for torture, and reinstituting the rule of law. Forgiving, yes, of course, forgiveness. Now, I did point in my article that I think that there has to be a careful management of the forgiveness, because there's a lot of people and a reason to unite and forgive, but I don't think we should mix everybody. I think that right now we should forgive those who have been unjustly persecuted.
That's true.
But also we have to turn our eyes to all of the victims of these perpetrators. Be it from the Derg 40 years ago, which we have not really processed and digested yet, but this is another opportune time to do that. And also the victims who have been victims of the perpetrators in the recent 25 years. Now, I will say I'm in the same spirit of unity. I don't think we should try to rectify every single account on everybody, but I think that we need to focus on our strengths, what brings us together. The Ethiopian people are a passionate and resolute people, and I have full faith that if the opportunity is there, it will follow up.
Will follow up.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a chance to share with you the table on the Dr. Abiy's town hall dinner evening.
Yes,
so
yes.
That means ተደምረሃል?
ተደመርኩኝ.
What's the meaning of መደመር? በአማርኛ እስኪ።
በአማርኛ መደመር like አንድ መሆን ነው። አንድ ህዝብ፣ አንድ አገር፣ አንድ ተስፋ፣ አንድ ፍቅር፣ unity መከባበር፣ አንድ እግዚአብሔር who መከበር አለብን and always we have to follow our spirit and our moral spirit for each other. We are Ethiopians, አንድ ነን፣ አንድ ህዝብ ነን, and I think that with this type of approach anything can happen.
I was going to ask you what you're going to add for our viewers at last, but you already said it. I don't want to stress you too much in Amharic.
Okay, yes. Like በአማርኛ like
እስኪ በለው ደስ ያለህን ነገር ማስተላለፍ ፈልገው ነገር
like አንዳንዴ like subject complex ከሆነ በእንግሊዝኛ ይሻለኛል ይቀልኛል ግን በጣም ተስፋ አለኝ።
የተጀመረው ነገር ጥሩ ነው።
በጣም ጥሩ ነው እና የኢትዮጵያ ህዝብ አሁን ይሄ ሞመንት መያዝ አለብን እና የኛ አገር ነው የኛ ፊውቸር ነው እና ለኔክስት የሚቀጥለው ጀነሬሽን በጣም we have to care for what we bring forward now. And a lot of young people, they are very energized, passionate nacho. የተማረ ሰው አለ አሁን like everything is there. It's up to us አሁን everything just
አንድ ሆነን ያችን ሀገር ማስተካከል so our responsibilities.
Exactly.
Great. One more last question and we're going to wrap up our program. Do you practice law now?
Do I practice law? Yes, I am. Okay. I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer at a pharmaceutical company, which I have started about a year ago now, and I plan to continue in the healthcare area, which is also something that I am hoping to extend to Ethiopia to get affordable medicine to Ethiopia. A lot of parts of Ethiopia still have a need to get affordable healthcare, and I believe we can do that. And another thing I wanted to point out, if I may, is I have with other Ethiopian lawyers in the area in DC and also in the country, in the US and even in Canada. We are organizing a group called the Ethiopian Diaspora Advocates. What we want to do is come together and make our voice heard from the diaspora, the policies and the causes that we care about, that we can share them with the new administration. They want to hear from us, and they have asked us to raise $1 a day and give $1 a day, which I am more than glad to do, and a lot of people I know are happy to do.
Yes.
But with that, I feel like we are also owed to be heard and our voice is heard. We give $1, but we also give our opinion and help comments, and any cause that you care about, please reach out to me or to my group, and we hope to be a strong advocate. And it's not only lawyers, any professionals, even to you, Gera, you should come with us. And we make sure that as much as we give and donate money, we also give of ourselves by giving our expertise. There's a lot Ethiopia will need with all of these reforms, and Dr. Abiy, we have to support his vision of reform, and also just care for the country, no matter who the administration is. But this is an opportune time, and I think we should make our voices heard and just engage with our country. Take action. Let's do it. Yichalal.
Prince ኢዩኤል ዳዊት መኮንን. It is a great honor to have you on my show.
Thank you so
much.
I hope
we'll meet again some other time.
Definitely.
And thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
የተከበራችሁ ተመልካቾቻችን እስካሁን ስትከታተሉ የቆያችሁት ከፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል ዳዊት መኮንን ኃይለ ሥላሴ ጋር ያደረኩትን ጨዋታ ነበር። ሁላችሁም በጣም ጥሩ ጊዜ እንዳሳለፋችሁ የተማመንኩኝ። አሁን በድጋሚ እንግዲህ ይቅርታ የሚችለውን ያክል በአማርኛ ለመናገር ሞክረዋል ፕሪንስ ኢዩኤል። እንግዲህ ተመልካቾቻችን አሁን በድጋሚ ለኛ ልታደርሱልን የምትፈልጉት አስተያየት ወይም አንዳንድ ነገር ቢኖር በድረገጽ አድራሻችን www.dtv-tv.com ላይ በመግባት ወይም ደግሞ በፌስቡክ ላይ ጌራ-ሾውን ፈልጎ ላይክ በማድረግና ቤተሰብ በመሆን ልታደርሱልን ትችላላችሁ። እስካሁን ስለተከታተላችሁን ፕሮግራም ከልብ እያመሰገንኩኝ በደህና ሰንብቱ እላለሁ።